bunnies? It's Friday. I'm in here chilling, and I decided I wanted to finally share with you guys the story about when I was raped twice. Now, I'm the kind of person, before you get all upset talking about why you smiling, let me explain. I'm a jokester. I've been a comedian since I was a kid. I love to make people laugh. It comes naturally to me. If you don't know me, then you just don't know. I'm constantly cracking jokes. When it comes to serious situations, I deal with that by making jokes. Sometimes you have to smile to keep from crying. That's how I see life. I smile and I laugh because it helps me. It's not really for you, it's for me. The truth of the matter is I was raped on 2 different occasions. The first one I'll tell you about, and then I'll do maybe a second video. I'm holding this with my hand. I decided not to put it up on a stand because I don't want to be all day on this story. I just want to tell you guys what happened, how I was able to move on from it, and then be done with it. So back when I was 16 years old, I was dating this guy at my church. I know you guys are going, somebody at your church? Yes, somebody at my church. I don't put it past him or anybody else because even the people in church are still human. We all still sin. Nobody in church is a saint. So it's not that big of a shocker. But anyway, we were dating and I really, really cared about him. Like a lot. Like I can't put it any other way. I really cared about him. We were at church one day. We were all a part of the youth choir. We were at rehearsal one day. When rehearsal was over with, him and his friends were talking about going back to the house and, hanging out, playing games, video games and stuff like that. And me and my brother were really, really, really into video games. I still am, and so is he. We both have systems and we still play to this day. So they were talking about going back to the house and chilling and stuff like that. And we were invited to come. So I was like, all right, my boyfriend's gonna be there. I want to go so we can all hang out and have some fun. At the time, I was driving my dad's van. He had this huge white van. And so we were like, all right, we can go over there for like an hour or so and then we can just go home. So we get there and we go inside and everybody's chilling. I don't remember if they had any drinks or anything like that. I think I remember them smoking or something. My goal was to play video games. That's what I wanted to, that's what excited me about going there, was to play video games. But like I said, my boyfriend was there. I don't think we started off in the room where the games were and everything, but I did, go around and meet everybody. It was only about 5 or 6 of us there total. Somehow him and I ended up in his friend's mother's bedroom. He laid down on the bed and we started making out. Again, I'm smiling not because it's funny, but because that's my defense mechanism. We started making out and I performed oral sex on him. And at this point in my life, I figured I was really, really good at it because look at my lips. That's all people generally ever notice about me when they first meet me, especially men, is the fact that I have really nice lips. Yes, my head game was on point if you want to see it that way. So I was doing that and I'm thinking that's good enough. And I was using my hands as well, which are tiny and soft. I got really tiny hands. I'm going to town. I'm doing what I need to do to make sure that, he's satisfied. Before he came, he sat up and he was pretty much asking if he could penetrate me. And I was like, I really do love you, but no, like I'm not ready for that. I'm still a virgin and I'm scared. I'm not ready for that yet. I want to be married when I have sex. And that was always my thing, is I wanted to be married before I had sex. Him being a man, I guess, he continued trying to convince me and eventually pushed me to the floor. I'm not gonna say it was like a violent shove, but more of him putting his body weight on top of me slowly and just pretty much I don't want to say forcing, but to me it felt forced. I feel like he forced himself on top of me. I had already taken off my clothes before we started with the bed and all that oral stuff. Before I knew it, he entered me and it felt like somebody was ripping me open. It was terrible. I can't even I have no analogies, or I have nothing to compare it to as far as what it felt like. It just hurt so much and I immediately started crying. He didn't stop and I'm pushing on his abdomen and I'm saying no, 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 and I had been saying no from the time he was pushing himself on top of me. I was saying no, no, I don't want to, when I'm trying to get away and I can't, because a part of me cares about him. I love him. I want this, but I'm not ready yet. So I'm fighting with myself and I'm fighting with him all at the same time. And I just want him to get up because it hurts too much. Just over and over and over. And eventually, because I was on the floor, there was a wall behind me and my head started hitting the wall over and over and over again. Just when I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. Like I just felt like I was just Maybe you don't know what I mean, but it just, I felt like it was too much, like I was gonna die. And that's how it felt at the time. I felt like I'm gonna die. Like, this is so, so painful. How could anybody enjoy this ever? Just when I started to feel that way, someone banged on the door. And I mean, forcefully banged on the door. And all we heard was, my mom is here, my mom is here. And he took off running down the hallway. And this guy snatched himself out of me. That hurt worse than what he was doing. To literally snatch himself out of me, jump up, grab his clothes, and he hit it out the door. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. But I got up and I started gathering my clothes and I put them on as quickly as I could. And I ran across the hall to the room where my brother and my boyfriend's friend was actually playing video games. My brother was oblivious. He had no idea what was going on. The other guy, in his face, I could see that he knew pretty much what just happened, because they were all friends, and I don't know if they discussed it first or if this was the plan. I have no idea. But I ran into that room and went behind a dresser that was up against the wall so I could get my boots back on, because I had taken off my pants and my boots. So I got my pants on real quick, I put my boots on, and as soon as I stepped into my boot, their mom walked through the door of that bedroom, and she was like, "Megan, you can step out from around there." And I stepped around. We were getting ready to leave. I grabbed my brother and I was like, "Come on, let's just go." And she went off. "What are y'all doing here?" "We were playing video games." We're lying, because what else am I going to say? You know what I mean? There was really nothing I could say. I shouldn't have been there. I should not have been there. My goal of being there was to play video games. I thought that's what we went there for. Even though I was a young girl and I had a boyfriend, I wasn't hot like that. Like, I wasn't ready to start having sex. I really, truly, honestly, inside wanted to be a virgin until I got married. That was my goal. And I thought he understood that. I did not come there to have sex, because I wasn't having sex before that point. I didn't know what having sex felt like. And at this point, you'd be lucky if I have sex again for the rest of my life, as painful as that was. But she went off. She started cussing me. "My house is not a whorehouse. Get out of here. Get out of my house. Get out of my house." Mind you, this is a lady from church. I know her because I know her kids. We all in the youth choir together. So me and my brother grab our stuff. I feel no need to explain anything to her about what happened. My boyfriend never came out of the bathroom to defend me, to say anything. I left there a broken girl. And when I got in the truck and I sat down, I started crying because it hurt so much. And my brother was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing." So we drove home, and then when we got there, it's not even late. Like, it's maybe 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. It's not even that late, because choir rehearsal let out kind of early. So we get home and my dad is still up. So my dad sees us come through the door, and I'm damn near limping, because you can't imagine what it feels like to have someone force themselves inside of you like that when you're not ready for it. I wasn't turned on at all. I was not ready for it. So my entire pelvis and abdomen were on fire. It was so painful. It was almost like I had given birth to a child. And mind you, I've never done that before. But I can imagine that that's probably what it feels like to have something that big into a hole that small that wasn't ready. So I get in the house and I'm damn near limping, but I don't want anybody to know what happened, because I feel guilty. I feel like I shouldn't have been there to begin with. I already feel terrible about what happened. So we come in the house and my dad is awake, and he has me and my brother, "Before you guys go to your room, come sit down." He's at the dining room table. So we come and we sit. Mind you, I sit like I'm trying not to let him know that I'm in pain. He goes, "Where are you guys coming from?" And I was like, "Choir rehearsal." And he was like, "I'm going to ask you again, where are you coming from?" And I was like, "Yeah, he knows." So I was like, "We went by a friend's house to play video games, and that's what took us so long to come home." And he was like, "I just got a phone call from a woman who's very upset." And I was like, "Damn, she snitched." He said she was at prayer meeting or some kind of something to do with church she was at, and she said she had this feeling she couldn't shake, that she needed to go home. I'm gonna try not to cry. She said she had this feeling she couldn't shake that kept telling her she needed to go home, she needed to go home, need to go home, and she was ignoring it because she figured it was nothing. But she said the feeling wouldn't go away. And eventually, it was so unbearable, she had to get up from whatever she was doing at church and go home. And when she got there, she didn't see anything, but she found me and my brother there in a room. Everybody was fully dressed, but she knows something happened. Although she can't put her finger on it, she knows that something happened. Now, any parent would think, oh, they were in there having sex. I know it. No, I was in there being raped. And God sent that woman to stop him from what he was doing. She doesn't even understand that she saved me. Granted, she was too late because my virginity was already gone. But if he hadn't stopped, I don't know what would have happened. I really don't. There was blood. I don't want to get too gory with it, but there was a reason why she couldn't shake the feeling that she needed to come home, because somebody needed to stop that. Somebody needed to stop it from happening. And because she had came home, one of her sons came and banged on the door to tell us that she was there. And that's what made him stop. So my dad said, she called me, she's very upset. And she's, all of this. And he goes, so I'm going to ask you one last time. Tell me what happened. And I couldn't look my dad in the face and say I was raped, because I'm going to tell you guys in a separate video from this one why the relationship between my father and I has always been rocky. Why you could look at me and say that I have daddy issues. There's a reason. Because the history that my father and I have, for some reason, has always been rocky. He's never, ever really, really loved me. You know what I mean? Like, even my mom told me once that he's got this animosity towards me and none of us know where it's coming from. Ever since I was a child. And he would use the excuse that I was rebellious and disobedient, but I was a child. So I don't even understand why this animosity toward me in particular. He doesn't treat my siblings like this or any of his other kids from his previous marriage. But I digress. So I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want to be blamed yet again for doing something that I shouldn't have been doing when someone else does something to hurt me. Because if you guys remember, when I was 11, if you watch my previous video, when I was 11, I was molested, and I didn't tell him for the very same reason. I didn't want to be blamed for being somewhere I shouldn't have been. And that's exactly what he did anyway, regardless of me telling him. He looked at my brother too, and he said, what about you? What do you have to say? Where are you guys coming from? What happened? And my brother was just crying because he felt bad for me. And he didn't have anything to say either. He wasn't about to snitch on me. So my dad was like, all right, since nobody wants to say anything, he's like, I'm going to let whatever you're going through right now be your punishment, because he could see that I was in pain. And I don't even know if he could see that I was in pain, or I don't even know if he could see why I was in pain or that I was in pain. I know that I was, gently crying. It was just, tears were just coming and I was wiping them. But I don't know if he looked at that and thought, you feel bad because you were out having sex and you got caught, or someone has raped you and you are in severe pain right now. I don't know what he saw, but he said he was going to let that be my punishment. And that hurt even worse. To know that number one, I couldn't tell you that I'd been raped and know that you would believe me. And for you to tell me you're going to let whatever I'm going through be my punishment, to me, that was a low blow. Because now I have to go through the pain on my own. And I did. For the next couple of weeks, it hurt to pee. It hurt to sit. It hurt when I slept. It hurt when I walked. It hurt when I ate. It hurt when I coughed. It hurt when I sneezed. Every single thing that I did that involved anything to do with my pelvic area caused me severe pain. And I had no pain medication. I never went to a doctor. Nobody thought it was a good idea to find out the truth about what happened. And it took me a long while before I talked to my boyfriend, only to find out later, after all of this was over with, he broke up with me so that he could go date my cousin. How's that for a plot twist? Yeah. And I guess that's a whole nother story, but I'll tie it into this one. I have a couple of minutes left. Yeah, he ended up dating my first cousin, who also lives here in Florida with me. He broke up with me one night while we were at church. Broke up with me to start dating her. Come to find out, it was a bet between him and those very same friends from that night to see who could get in her drawers first. So he left me to go do that to her after he raped me. Mind you, it's not like a day or so after. This is maybe weeks, months later. That was really devastating for me. And I found out later on that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I found out that one of his friends was actually in the closet of his mother's bedroom watching me be raped. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I heard. It took me a while to get over it. It took a while for the pain to go away, but I never felt the same. I didn't feel the same after that. I felt like I was tainted. Like, who's gonna want a woman who's not a virgin? It made me feel bad. It made me feel really, really bad. And it made me feel even worse that I had nobody to talk to about it, that I had nobody that I could go to about it and get some comfort or something from somebody who had been through it, or who could tell me it was going to be okay, that things were going to get better. Like, I fell into another depression. And then shortly after that, my grandfather died, which also helped with that depression. So at this present moment, I am no longer bound by that situation. I don't hold any ill will against him. As a matter of fact, I still speak to him occasionally when I see him. He still goes to that church every once in a while, but we're not like besties or anything like that. You know, he asked me if I wanted to hang out one day, and I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, do you understand that you raped me? Like, you took something from me that I wasn't ready to give to you, and you'll excuse me if I'm just not comfortable being around you without anybody else. Like, I'm not down to chill. Sorry. I just never saw him the same anymore. He went from being this quote unquote Greek god to me because he can sing. And when I say this boy can sing, that's what reeled me in about him, is the fact that he could sing. And he would get up in front of church and he would just, and it hit me right here because I'm a singer too. So if you can sing or play and you can really, really do it, back then you could get draws, you know? And to me, it was just something you say. It wasn't something I was ready to do. So, but like I said, you know, it took a long time for me to get over that. And it wasn't until I met my very next boyfriend, who ended up being like 10 years my senior, who was this really big, burly, like, everybody knows who this guy is. Most people do, because we were together the longest. And I was with him the longest because he was a big guy, and I felt like he could defend me if anybody ever tried to do that to me again. Yay me. I just, you know, I recently, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I started on this spiritual journey, and in doing so, I had to take a look at my past, and I had to forgive people for the things they'd done to me, for the ways they've treated me, for the things that I had gone through. I had to learn to let all of that go. If I'm going to move forward, I have to let go of that kind of stuff. So I had to look back and get in touch with myself in that regard, and the people who had wronged me, the people that I had done wrong to. I had to go and apologize. Like, there was a process for me, and that's what helped me get over that and move into who I am today. That no longer hinders me. It no longer hurts me. You see, I can talk about it without really becoming emotional. The only part that really kind of hit me was the fact that God was still looking out. He sent their mom home, and she doesn't even realize that she came home to stop me from being raped. That's the only thing that makes me a little bit emotional, because God was looking out for me. Even when I felt like, even when I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing, he still had mercy on me enough to send someone to come stop what was happening to me. But to talk about what happened, it really doesn't bother me anymore. And I got to that point because I decided to take a spiritual journey inside myself to find out who I am, to learn to love myself and accept myself, and to remember who I am. I hope that the story was helpful to you guys. I'm not going to tell the second story right now. That one is a little bit more intense than this story. And for me, it's a little tougher to tell because, again, this is somebody I used to talk to, but it was a whole wrong situation. But I'll tell you guys that story another day. I'm still working on putting my locks in. It looks like I have them all in and I just have it tied up, but they're not all in yet. I'm still working on getting them in. But when I'm finished, I'll let you guys see all of that. I haven't vlogged in a couple of days, only because I've been gathering myself enough to tell this story to you so that I can present it in the best way possible. So I hope that the story helps somebody. If there's anything that you can take from this story, understand that no matter what happens to you, you can bounce back from it. The one thing that I needed that I didn't get was support and love. I didn't have anybody to show me support or love, or that they cared, except for my brother. And he didn't even really know what happened. And to this day, I don't think he knows what happened. If he watches this video, then he will know now what happened in that room. I didn't go in there with the intention of having sex. And this is for my brother, this is for my sister, this is for my mom and my dad, and for anybody else in that situation. I did not go in that room with this guy with the intention of having sex. I went in there with the intention of being a little bit intimate, but I did not go in there intending to have sex with him, because I had not had sex up until that very point when he took it from me, because I told him no. I told him no repeatedly. I told him no, and he decided he was going to pursue it anyway, and he ended up taking it from me without my consent, which is technically rape. So no, it wasn't violent. He didn't have a knife. He wasn't holding it to my throat. It doesn't have to be that way. If you say no, and the person, whoever they are, does not respect the fact that you've said no and stops, it is rape. I hope that you guys get whatever you need to get from this story. I don't know what it is. Be free from your past. That's the biggest thing. Be free from your past. Don't let it hinder your present or your future. Learn to let go of things. Learn to forgive people. Learn to take a lesson away from whatever it is that you go through in life, because there is always a lesson to be learned. That's going to do it for this story. Thanks for coming to hear my story. I can't even say I hope you enjoyed it, because it's not something that you're supposed to enjoy, but I just hope that the story helps somebody else. That's the whole purpose of me sharing these stories, and I'm going to say that in all of my videos. These stories are intended to help someone else to move past painful situations that they think they can't get over, because I was able to do it, and I'm human just like you. And if you need help, or you need advice, or you want my opinion on something, my information is going to be below. Find a way to contact me, and I will give 110% in trying to help you the best way that I can. All right? Thanks so much for coming to hang out with me today, guys. I hope you guys end up having a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. I'm going to make sure I get this hair done so that I can start vlogging again a little bit. This concludes our broadcast day. Click.